I'm going to show you how to get results from your Google Ads for 2025. And I'm doing this because I see a lot of other people setting up and doing videos on complicated ways of doing things, but they are missing several points. Now I'm going to jump over on the screen. I'm going to walk through a process of setting up which is simple, which you can understand and makes really logical sense and solves the biggest problem with Google Ads that no one talks about. Let's jump on a screen. So I've labelled this as Google Ads the best way to learn for 2025. And why am I doing this? And it's because I've seen a lot of training that focuses on the setup. It focuses on how to set the account up, how to set the process up, but it doesn't actually provide you with a process which guides you for success. That's probably the best way to look at it. Is they cover all the technical elements, which is nice, and you can get plenty of technical help around. But I'm going to cover a very few key points, and it's going to be a little different than what you've seen on any of the other videos. So Google Ads Simplified is what I've called this, and who is it for? Now, if you're a business owner, or even if you're working at an agency, this is primarily for those that want to generate leads for their website or for the website that they are working for. I focus purely on leads, and you don't need any technical skills to follow this. I've dropped it down into a process which you can actually get moving, and that's the key point. You will learn a lot by doing this process, and you will learn a lot by going through and getting an account running, and that's where you'll learn the most. Most setups aren't done right. I'm going to give you a simplified way to get you up and running, or improve a process that when I've talked to clients, they've said to me that things are not working, and this process is part of it, the main part that's broken. So let's get into it. And this is going to be controversial, right? I'm not going to focus on the basics. I'm going to focus on the things that work. And the things we're focusing on is being able to bring more leads in. And that's where anybody can set up a Google Ads account. Anybody can go and pass the course and certify themselves as a PPC or a pay-per-click expert, but they don't think about the business process. And that's what I'm looking at from this point of view. And you don't necessarily need the technical skills that I'm running through. It helps to have a little bit, but you can find a lot of us on other videos, other part that'll help you out. I'm going through the big picture stuff, so let me get down one more. And it's because I'm going to run it backwards. And what I mean by I'm going to run it backwards is you're going to focus on what's generating leads and why it generates leads, and you're going to understand what Google wants. And by understanding what Google wants and giving it what you want and giving the user what it wants, it's a win-win-win. It's a win for you because you'll get leads. It's a win for Google because they like what you're putting up there. And it's a win for the user who has come through your ads. And that's why it's a win-win everywhere. So yeah, like I said, plenty of tutorials that focus on the setup, the settings, etc., etc., etc. And I'm going to touch on some of what I believe the key settings that most people miss as well. And these make quite a difference in your account. But also, this is going to be a simple process, not too complicated, nothing more than you can do yourself. If you can send an email, you can follow this. So let's get into it. So I'm going to tell the truth. I seem to put this in my slides quite a bit. Setting up is easy. Conversion is where the challenge is. And you'll see plenty of people complaining that Google Ads doesn't work, it doesn't work as a process. It most definitely works, especially if you're in the service industry or you're just someone who wants more leads coming in the door. This process will definitely work for you, and you will understand more about it as we get into it. So let's jump in. So getting started, the KISS principle. This is something I learned a long time ago, and it stands for the Keep It Simple principle. So the example I'm going to use the example of a builder. Now the builder might have a range of different services, but in this principle, in this model we're going to walk through, we're only going to focus on one, because what happens quite a lot, and I've literally been looking at an account this morning, as people tried to set up their Google Ads covering all their different services. And what happens is they have too small a budget to spread all across their services. So what happens is they don't get enough people down each service. And when you don't get enough people down each service, they don't get the conversions, because not everyone that arrives on your site is going to fill out a form to contact you. And the reason for this is you have to get enough numbers in the door. I'm sure if you're a business owner, you know that you'll speak to the right people at the right time and they'll convert into customers. But you still have to talk to a number of people, and the web is no different. So the challenge in this case is, as a builder, he has a team that he has to keep busy. So he's employing them anyway. And so he needs to keep them busy and employed, or otherwise he's got to pay them for doing nothing. And that's where the challenge comes in as well. We want to make sure that we can provide enough leads in the door that keep his team busy, and they are relatively simple tasks. That's what my builder friend calls them anyway. And we can succeed on them quickly and get them done quickly. So you've got cash turnover as well. So we're going to focus on a single area. There's a lot of services he could provide. There's a lot of leads, and he could do the other leads better. But remember, the KISS principle, right? We're not going to spread ourselves too thin. So what we're going to focus on is building a deck in his city area. So if it's a deck that sits off the back of a house for anybody else, nothing else. And like I said, my builder friend, he tells me that decks are relatively easy to turn around. They are profitable, they are fast, and it's a good way of keeping his team busy. And it's only in a city area. And we'll break this down a little bit later, but this will give you an idea where we're going. So let's get in. The change. So instead of going into the account and set up an account, which we're going to cover later, we are going to start at the website, and we're going to use a specific landing page. Now, you may have a fantastic design, you may have a fantastic designer who has done you a stunning website. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of stunning websites that have cost a lot of money, they don't convert. And that's what we're going to focus on, converting to the lead. And that's why this is going to be different. You may need to have a look at different options. You can Google landing page software, all these different things. There's plenty out there to choose from. But we're going to use a specific landing page, and I'm going to walk you through what that page has to have. So his goal is two things. One, phone calls are good for him. He can get on the phone with somebody and he can turn them into business from the call. The next one was lead submissions. So he wants someone to request more information, and then he follows up with that information. Key point here, you have to make those follow-ups very quick and very efficient, because otherwise they will find someone else. And that's really simple as this. So let's break it down into what the page or parts of the page will look like. So this one here I'm using as an example. So this is the top of the page. And this is, I'm just using an example of a client I've done some work with. So we have three key elements to this. And so on the top left, we have the logo. Now a logo is something that builds credibility. An effective company has a logo. So you should have a logo, a business design of some sort. It doesn't have to be flash. It just needs to be, flash means clever looking, by the way. It just needs to look professional. Now, so moving into the center, we have a free calling number. This one is an 0800 number because I'm making this video from New Zealand, but the same, a 1-800 number. This has two elements to it. One, it makes you look bigger than what you possibly are, and two, it builds trust that you're a bigger company and more likely to do this. Side note, I had a plumber who was using a free calling number, and he decided to turn it off and not use it anymore and use his cell phone number, and the ads didn't convert anymore. So key point from there. Okay, so our next, what we call a call to action, is on the right hand side where we've got a contact us button. Now The rest of the design of this particular site is actually blue, and the design of the branding is around blue. But deliberately, the call to action button, which is in this case the contact us button, is orange, and it's done that way on purpose. It's a contrasting color, it's a different color to the design, and it's made to stand out from your brand. Many websites focus on brand, and some of these buttons that you want people to take action on, they fade into the color and therefore they don't stand out. You have a very short time frame to get someone's opinion and get them to take action from what they've seen. You have to make things stand out and make it simple. So we've covered that one. Let's just jump on the next one. Okay, so the title of the site. The title of the site is going to link exactly back to what we're going to advertise for. And in this case, we've got leading deck builder in his location, whatever that might be. So we are then, so far we've got that top menu created. Then under that we've got some credibility saying a leading deck builder, and it's also confirming our ads that we're running later. So we're only focused on those deck builder. It's only in that location where we're going to run, actually run our ads, and this is again we're confirming what will be in the ads. Examples of what you do. So the best thing to do here is possibly a little bit about what you do, some of the work that you've done, and also what works really well, especially if you are solving a problem, or maybe you're washing a building, before and after pictures. What can you expect? So people can look at that and go, that looks like my house, and that's what it will look like afterwards. You need to draw a picture and have those pictures of the work you've done in the past. So this is here one that I've used design already. So this tells you, look, create the bathroom you love for years to come. It's a little bit about what they offer, and then it's got some nice images in there. But again, this is just content for the page to build your credibility up as well. Okay, before and after, I've always covered this, and tell a story. I did miss this before. Tell the story. Talk about how, you know, Mr. Jones here thought it was going to cost him more to get this done, but then we came in under budget on what he expected, and he is wrapped with what he did. And you want to tell the story to bring people in, because stories sell people, and people will watch and they'll read stories. If you have the option to do videos, that's also great too, but not everyone wants to get on video. So next one, what others say. Noted design so they're recognized as Google reviews example. Now I'm going to give you an example in a minute, but I'll show you what I mean as well. So it's great what you say about yourself, but people believe what others say about you far more than what you say about yourself. And the reason why I want to make them look like Google reviews is because people identify them as being independent and being from Google, so they trust them even more. Many people make decisions on Google reviews every day, and they're a key element. So here's what I mean. And these two examples I've got here. My two things, I've tried to pick the ones that are very similar sized, so they lay out well on the screen. Here's the text, here's the text. I've chosen the ones that have the images, and the images in both. And there's a key reason for this. If you look at it, text is great and pictures lay it out, but pictures are a lot more believable when you see it in there. If you just, and I looked at a site yesterday which only had the text, and it didn't have the trust in place because it didn't have the pictures showing that these were real events. People are getting a little bit cynical over reviews that they see. They want to see what pictures and more believability for what you create and put on your page. What else do you need to have on there? You need to have about the company, and you need a trust building physical address and a phone number. So worst case scenario, people want to be able to contact you. So you can still put this down at the bottom of the page, near the bottom of the page, so that people can still scroll all the way to the bottom. If they are serious enough, they will scroll down the bottom and they will look at about you. Anything about your company. How long has it been around? How many projects have you done? Who have you worked with? Have you worked with any big companies that people will recognize? Do you have pictures of your team? All those things are trust building. And what we're doing here is increasing the amount or the chance of conversion. Before we even set up any ads, we're increasing the chance of conversion. Frequently asked questions. What are common things that people ask you about what you do? Now, will it be on time? Is there separate areas that you can't do? Questions that your customers have possibly asked you about that you can answer quickly. And again, this fits nicely at the bottom of the page where someone is just wanting to decide whether they will contact you. And they will scroll all the way down to the page, and as I mentioned at the top, that top menu bar is sticky, so it stays there all the time. So you'll see that button, it stays right across the top regardless on where you move, and people can click on that link to contact you from anywhere on the page. So that allows them to scroll to the bottom, read everything. They can still click on that button without having to go anywhere else or fill out any other forms until they click on that button. Key points. Now this is something I've come across quite a bit, and it's really keeping the form submission simple. And let me explain. Sometimes when you fill out a form, the form will reload the page and you'll get a message saying thank you for filling out the form. While that seems efficient, it doesn't get you to another page. And when you get to another page, just like a thank you page, fill out the form. This example I put up there is a thank you page. People get to that page, but the reason I'm putting it in here on purpose, and you can link to this page to anywhere else in your site, examples, more reviews and testimonials, but the key point is this is easier to track, and that's the reason I say you need to keep the simple tracking here where people fill out a form, they also go to another page, and they can really easily be tracked. And that's what you want to do down here. There are a lot of people will be advertising in your market space, and you want to have the tracking as simple as possible, and I'll explain why on the next slide. Why this is simple to track. Now let's start from the left here. We've got keyword. And the keyword is what you want people to search for. So in this case, we know we're going after builders and decks. So we might go building deck company. That's a keyword that you have put in as a suggestion for what you want to show your ads for. And then we might have a block of up to 5 or even more keywords in this. And then we've got your page. So we're using the same page each time. So we're going to the same page and we're keeping that same theme about building a deck, and it's a builder's page. We're going to the same page. But the key is in the third section when you see across there. We want to know what actual keyword has generated a lead. And this is where you get smarter than everyone else. And you can actually find what a person has put in that has generated a lead, and you can advertise more for that term, that lead, for that keyword than you do for the others. And where there are no leads, you turn those keywords off. Now run that through that again quickly. So you've got keywords on the left, which is what you want to advertise for. You've got a single page in this model, and on the right hand side you've got the keywords that have generated the lead, and that is the gold. That is what's going to make you perform better than other campaigns, and it's what allows you to turn keywords off. The ones that are working you keep on, the ones that aren't working you turn off. And you can also work out the cost of your lead as well. Let's get into the next one. So now we're going to get into a bit more around the setup. Now, I've done this at a campaign level, and I've broken down into a few simple points that we're going to go over. There are many different points and setups and things you can do in here. I want to keep you to the simplest process and get you up and running as quickly as possible. You can find out about all those other things later, but there are some real key points which I point out just later on. So we're in a campaign called number one, whatever it is. The ad group is called Deck, right? So it works from campaign to ad group to ads. So the campaign is at the top level. The ad group is where we're going to theme it under Decks only for this particular campaign, and then you're going to write your ads later under once you get into the ad writing process. So the keywords we're going to target in this group are Deck Builder. Now notice it's Deck Builder and Deck Builders. If it was Deck Maker, that wouldn't be specific. That's different. We would do that separately later. We want to focus exactly what this here. And this could be Deck Builder Near Me. It could be Builder Deck Near Me. Those things can also be in there. Keeping to that theme of the Deck Builder. And that is why we're being very specific, and I know I'm being a little bit fussy here in how I'm describing it. And I even got a misspelling up there. Deck Builders is actually a misspelling. But the key point is you are going to take ads that are about the Deck Builder. You're going to take it to a Deck Builder page that's all specific, and that's going to increase your chance of conversion to lead. Some settings to be aware of when you're getting set up in this process. Now let's jump into here. So the type of campaign. You want to be setting up a lead campaign. And a lead campaign is focusing on leads, strangely enough. That will put your ads specifically and build your ads specifically to focus on leads generated. And that's what you're after. On the next step over, we've got search. You are running a search intent campaign. A high intent customers getting the right time on Google search. So we're only focusing on Google search. Nothing else at this point. And this is the most highest performing count. There are other campaigns you can run later, but again, we're doing this from a simple get you started going. So this point it's asking you about what do you want to focus on? Conversions. You want to focus on conversions. You can set a target cost per conversion. That means the cost that it's going to cost you to confirm that lead. It'll tell you how much you've got paid for that lead. At this point you want to leave it open. It will be high getting started. I don't want you to freak out on that. The target cost per action, as in lead, it will be high getting started. But you also need to know from a business point of view what you're prepared to pay for a lead in relation to how much a confirmed lead, new business is worth to you. For someone in this deck building space, he wants to keep his builders busy. It'll cost him a fortune employing them if they're not doing anything. So he's willing to pay a high cost per conversion to keep them busy. Now, if you've got projects that are $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 and they are up that in space, you need to keep that in mind too, what you're prepared to pay for that lead. And at the same time, consider that how many of your customers turn into repeat customers later. I don't necessarily say you take it into account, but have that thought at least in the back of your mind, how many customers turn into ongoing, high income customers. So I want to bring this up because this is really interesting here. And you'll see this is part of a setup, and Google by default has put in there, and I hope I've got this big enough for you to see, Google Search Partners recommended, Google Network Display Network recommended. Now, I'll break these down to two different parts. So the first part is not the clearest way of putting it. Google Search Partners Network means that your ads will also be placed on other networks who use Google search on their site, and your ads will be shown on other pages. By default, you want to click this off. You only want your ads to be shown on Google, because you want your data to only come from the Google search, and that will get you the best qualified lead, best qualified ads, and the best performance. Google Display. Google Display is where a lot of other people run pages with ads on them, and you can run ads on those pages too. And it can be effective. But for what we're doing up today, this should be always kept separate. A display campaign should be always kept separate. And while I'm on this, which I haven't mentioned it, if you're running a campaign just for brand, that should be set up separately as well. The brand of your company, that should be always separate as well, because it shouldn't be measured the same as everything else. Because if someone knows who you are already, they're highly likely to convert, and that will skew your data that you're trying to build. So always run your brand campaign separately. So the next part down is locations, and this is currently set in all countries and territories, and down there is a couple of different options, and you can enter another location. The key point, and a lot of people don't realize this, if your business is only focused around a certain area within a city, you only want, and there is a cost when you go outside, or it costs too much to go to the other side of a city. You can run what's called a radius, and that circle can be a circle around where you want to do your business, and only in that circle your ads will only run within that circle. Now that's key, because now you're right in your target market, and you might be specific areas that you don't want to include as well. Maybe there are some lower economic areas which can't necessarily afford your service. You could also exclude them from the areas as well. I think I've got that on the next slide, but let me have a look. Yes, I've touched on it here, but you can exclude areas or include areas. If you only want to focus on a particular area within a neighborhood, you can actually run your ads only to that area. And that's key. Getting ads in the right area that also, if it's a localized based service, are again highly likely to convert. There'll be less people, but they'll be more qualified. So there's key points up there as well. I hope you can read this. I've set here presence or interest. People are regularly in or have shown interest in your included locations, and they've put it as recommended, and they've set it as on. That means if someone is looking to move to that location, then your ads will be shown to them, and you want to turn this off and have it only set up for people that are in that location or regularly in that location, and most likely that means that they live there. So that's when you want to keep in mind. English down next is most likely set to English. No great setting there. Down here in the next file, we've got broad match keyword. Again, they recommend use broad match keywords for your entire campaign. Now, if I put broad match keywords as a setting under our example, and we're talking about deck builder, it will take anything slightly similar to deck builder and show your ads to that. And we want to keep it specific to that area. And if it runs an ad that says how to build a deck, that's a do-it-yourself job. That's not you providing the service. So you don't want to have this on. You want to have it as keyword match types. And I'll show you the match types on the next page as well. But you want it set at keyword match types so you control what the keywords are showing up for. So let's get into the next one. This helps you set up your page a little bit better, and you can put in here keyword and asset generation. It'll AI generate some text for you, but the key point is here you can point it towards your page that you've set up correctly, and it will give you the keywords and things for that page. Now, using our scenario here, you will probably take a lot of those keywords out which don't have your deck builder in them, but it will prompt you with ideas for those deck builder keywords. Next one. Okay, so again, here's where we got our suggestions. The key points up at campaign level. This worked actually at ad group level here, and here we're starting to define the keywords for our ads. And this format that I've got down the bottom here in the quotes marks, this is called phrase match. and you probably know this, but phrase match is any words that will have both those keywords in it.